Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kamal and I'm a psychologist, and today we are going to talk about Prof.Jiang's perspective of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So without any further delay, let's get into it.
Okay, good morning. So we are doing Mohammed and the rise of Islam today. Mohammed, as you know, is one of the most important and influential figures in human history. He is as important as Jesus. But ironically, we actually don't know that much about Muhammad. In fact, we probably know more about Jesus than we know about Muhammad. With Jesus, at least we have a lot of his quotations, a lot of his sayings, which give us insight into his philosophy, his religion, his thinking. But with Muhammad, we don't have that many quotations. We don't have that many written sources. In fact, the Quran...
Alright, for the first part that he said, we don't know much about the prophets. This is totally false. There are thousands and thousands of hadiths or quotations from the Prophet himself. There are books that wrote about his life. There are seerahs all over the internet and all over the world in books. One of the best books I can recommend on this is Khulasatul Nurul Yaqeen, A Sealed Nectar, which is one of the best books on the lives or in the history of the Prophet. So I think this is totally false.
Sources. Yeah. In fact, the Quran, which is the holy book of the Islamic tradition, doesn't really mention him, even though in theory it is written by him.
Okay, he said in theory it is written by him. So first of all, the Quran wasn't written by the prophets. He only recited it after he was inspired. So he didn't write it. He didn't compose anything, and doesn't talk about him much because he's conveying the words of God. This is not his words. So yeah, that's the explanation for this part. So let's get into it.
In fact, one of the earliest written documents about Muhammad is actually from a Christian bishop, written about 20, 30 years after Muhammad's death in 632 CE. Okay? So we know he exists. So we know that he was a real person, and he was the founder of the Islamic tradition. And then,
well, with regards to he's the founder of the Islamic tradition, he isn't the founder of the Islamic tradition. He came to complete a mission. So Islam was already there. Islam was the religion practiced by Abraham, Moses, and all of the prophets before him. So he's the completion of journey of prophets. He's the completion of the mission of Islam. So he isn't the founder of Islam. Yeah.
And this is what Sibyl says about Muhammad. At that time, a certain man from along those same sons of Ishmael, whose name was Muhammad. Okay, so Muhammad is Muhammad. In fact, we don't even know what his real name is. Muhammad just means blessed one in Arabic.
Well, don't know what his real name is. Muhammad is the name that he was named by. So that was his name. It's not like it just came out of the blue or something like that. Yeah, so that is his actual name.
In Arabic. A merchant, okay? So he was a merchant. As if by God's command appeared to them as a preacher. So he was a prophet who rallied the Arabs to his cause. Abandoning their vain cults, they turned to the living God who had appeared to the father Abraham. Okay? So Muhammad converted the polytheistic Arabs to the monotheism of the Jews. So Muhammad legislated for them not to carry on, not to drink wine, not to speak falsely, and not to engage in fornication. He said, with an oath, God promised this land to Abraham and his seed after him forever. And he brought about as he promised during that time while he loved Ishmael. Okay? So what he's saying is the Arabs are the descendants of Abraham, just like the Jews and the Christians.
Yeah, and for this part, he's a descendant, or they are descendants, the Arabs are descendants of Abraham, which is from the lineage of Isaac and Ishmael. But Muhammad is a product of the Ishmael line of birth, right? So the Jews are from the Isaac's line of birth. So for a long time, all of the prophets were coming from that line, from the Isaac line, and then no prophet was showing up actually on the Ishmael's side of the birth or the prophethood. So what's happened is that most of the Jews, because they have this concurrent, repeated prophets coming to them to come and convey the words of God, they ended up killing them or doing sorts of things to get rid of them. So in order to change the balance of it, the Prophet Mohammed was sent through the Ishmaelites line of the prophethood. So he is actually to complete the mission of prophethood and bring monotheism, and then use that as the umbrella for all humanity. Yeah, so that was his mission.